In this video, I'm going to show you how to do this. See an OpenIPC video feed in mixed reality. This is some pretty cool stuff, being able to see the digital video from the drone and the open world all around us, all at the same time. But first, a little bit of background. OpenIPC is the brand new open source digital video system for FPV drones. And it's so new that there aren't any goggles available for it. But with this little hack, we can fly in mixed reality just like this. So let's get started with what you need. First, we need mixed reality goggles. I'm using Meta Quest 3S goggles, which are available for about $300. The more expensive Quest 3 goggles will also work great. And if you're on a really tight budget, the Quest 2 goggles can work, but not in mixed reality. You'll just see the video feed and nothing else. Next, we need an OpenIPC video receiver. I'm using the Emax Wyvern link receiver. It's normally meant to connect to an Android phone, but with a few tweaks, we can make it work with the Meta Quest goggles. And finally, we need an FPV drone equipped with OpenIPC. I'm using the same setup featured in my other video, how to build an OpenIPC drone for $150. This drone has a 100mW Emax Wyvern link transmitter. And now it's time to get this all to work together. The thing that's going to take the most time is getting the OpenIPC Android app, which is called Pixel Pilot, to work on the Meta Quest. Pixel Pilot comes as a .apk file, which any Android phone can install pretty easily. But the Meta Quest normally doesn't let you install APK files, so we're just going to have to hack it. I'm choosing to use SideQuest VR, but there are a whole bunch of other different Quest modding programs that let you do this. I just found that SideQuest VR is the most straightforward. Make an account on SideQuest VR and then follow the instructions to use the SideQuest desktop app. They also have a web-based installer, but don't do that since the web installer doesn't do the whole APK thing. You'll also need to enable developer mode on your Quest goggles, which you can do from the Meta Quest app on your phone. After the SideQuest VR app is installed and your Quest has developer mode unlocked, you can plug in your Quest goggles to your computer, and the SideQuest desktop app should recognize your goggles. Next, go to the OpenIPC GitHub and download the latest Pixel Pilot APK file. Use the SideQuest desktop app to select the APK file and upload it to your Quest goggles. And that should be it for installing Pixel Pilot onto your Quest. Now let's get everything connected together physically. We need to mount the Wyvern link receiver and its battery onto the goggles. There are some free 3D printed designs to do this, and that's probably going to be the cleanest setup. Instead, I'm doing things a little easier and messier by just using some double-sided sticky gel tape to mount the receiver onto the goggles. For the battery, I'm velcroing it to the goggles as well. A little bit of wire management with a zip tie, and it's all done. It's not a super clean setup, but it'll do. Next, let's prepare to take it on a flight. First, plug in the battery to the receiver and wait 1 full minute before plugging in the receiver into the Quest. OpenIPC is still in development, so there's some quirks like this. If you don't wait long enough, you won't get any video. Next, it's time to open Pixel Pilot on your Quest. Meta doesn't really like people installing unofficial apps, so they kind of hide it by default. Go to your app library and find the tab for unknown sources, and Pixel Pilot should be listed there. Meta does seem to change the location of this on every single update, so just a heads up if you don't see it there. Now that Pixel Pilot is open, you can adjust the window size and curvature to exactly how you'd like it. You can also choose to fly in mixed reality or just a static background. You're seeing the static background here. By the way, if you're using the Quest 2, this is the type of background you'll always see. And now let's take it on a real flight. One cool thing about mixed reality is that you don't have to constantly take your goggles on and off in order to do stuff like plug your quad in. The resolution from mixed reality is good enough that you can do all of that and even walk around with the goggles on all the time. And side note, mixed reality is just really cool, and I can't wait for it to become more mainstream. I can imagine walking around a foreign city and having all of the signs and words auto-translated for me in real time. Really cool stuff, and all the tech is already here. It's just up to people to implement the software. But anyways, I'm glad we can fly FPV drones in mixed reality. It's just really awesome. Now, one of the biggest criticisms from my last mixed reality video, the one with the analog video setup, was why not just use an FPV monitor display instead of goggles and accomplish basically the same thing. And when flying FPV, I actually like using monitors most of the time, and so I can see why this comparison is made, because on the surface, they do the exact same thing. But when you're actually using it, mixed reality is just like a better monitor. One huge benefit is that there's no glare from the sun. Normally when you're using an FPV monitor, you have to be conscious of where you're putting the monitor so that the sun doesn't get in your eyes or reflect off of the screen. And that also means adjusting your receiver antenna setup all the time to point the right way, and also remembering not to fly out of the range of your receiver antennas. But with this mixed reality setup, you don't really have to worry about any of that. The screen is always perfectly in focus with the perfect image quality at all times, no matter where the sun is. In addition, there's a lot less eye strain, because with a physical monitor, you have to physically focus your eyes on the monitor that's within a couple feet of you. But in mixed reality, the goggles handle all of that for you. It's kind of like why people prefer to watch stuff on a large TV instead of a smartphone, because it's just easier on the eyes with a large display that's farther away. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why mixed reality is like using an FPV monitor, but it's just better. In my other video, I showed the analog mixed reality setup. This video is about OpenIPC and mixed reality, and you can also do this with Walksnail and HD0 digital systems as well. You just have to use their HDMI receivers and then plug in an HDMI to USB-C capture card into the MetaQuest. As far as DJI goes, well, unfortunately, DJI is DJI, and they don't like giving us HDMI output, so doing this is going to be pretty tough. There is a third party that does sell an HDMI output converter box, but that still requires DJI goggles, so overall that'd be a pretty messy setup with 2 goggles and the converter box all hooked up together. Oh well, fingers crossed that one day DJI will actually just give us a dedicated HDMI receiver. Anyways, back to this OpenIPC setup. I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that the latency of this whole setup is about the same as with the original smartphone setup. I think it's about 30 milliseconds, which is on par with other digital setups like Walksnail and DJI. Latency is essentially a non-issue, and I had no problems flying it around, and it felt quick and zippy. And so overall, I'm glad that the OpenIPC devs prioritized making a solid digital video link, even though that it's still so new and still in development. It shows me that OpenIPC is a real contender for being the next big thing for FPV. All that's needed is to make things just a little easier to use, and I think it'll be a huge success. And hopefully these videos on OpenIPC will help anyone else out there get in the air with OpenIPC. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.